Hello there. Today is the birthday of Eddie Van Halen, one of the great musicians of the 20th century. He would have been 70 years old today. I am a Van Halen fan. Eddie is my personal favorite guitarist, and I consider him to be the reason why I first decided to play the guitar. Everything was going fine until then. I think what drew me to their music was a mixture of their energy. It has that danceable groove built into it. It's like it's dragging you out of your seat. Plus their sense of invention, the way it seemed to break the rules of conventional rock music. To this day, no matter how many times I've heard it, Eruption still impresses me with how it seems to cross every line of technique and genre convention and good taste, and it still seems to come off as a composed piece of music. Even though it's an unaccompanied guitar piece, every step of the way it implies harmony, it implies groove, and it punctuates each section with a burst of atonal and arrhythmic noise before it moves on to something completely different, all the way to the tapping section at the end. I think what impressed people about the tapping in 1978 wasn't the technique itself. I think it was that he did something really clever and creative and memorable with it, something with a lot of energy which really captured people's imaginations. That's why you can see 1,000,001 displays of tapping in the years that followed, which might top Eruption in terms of sheer athleticism, but very few of them recreate its propulsiveness and its tongue-in-cheek sense of majesty. That was another thing about Eddie. His playing was advanced for sure, but he didn't go out of his way to make anything any harder than it needed to be to achieve the effect he was going for. If there were two ways to play something and get the same result, he would pick the easier way every time. He didn't play the way he played to impress people. He wasn't trying to show off. He was trying to have fun and make the coolest music he could come up with. He was fond of that old saying, you don't work music, you play music. When Van Halen entered the studio for the first time in 1977, their first order of business was to knock out a 26-song demo tape. They played everything that they knew aside from a lot of their cover songs. This wasn't a fussy recording. They played one take per song, they left it at that, they moved on to the next one. Their producer, Ted Templeman, turned to Don Landy, their engineer, and said, at least we've got a band that can really play. What Ted Templeman meant by that was, even with one shot to get it right, everything they played sounded good and felt good. They were in the pocket the whole time. Their groove was perfect. They were in time. They were in tune. Even if every note wasn't correct, every note was played with articulation and conviction. It was like the whole band was made out of seasoned studio musicians who could be relied on to knock out a good take every single time. That's the real test. It's not that it sounds good and wild and crazy and technically advanced. Eddie's wildest sounding stuff wasn't a trick shot that he had to do 100 takes of to get a recording out of it. What you hear on the record is stuff he could play over and over again without a problem, and frequently you're hearing him on the first or second take. I think Eddie Van Halen gets misapprehended as a shredder or a technical virtuoso or whatever. What he really was a guy with tremendous spirit, a sense of adventure, someone who loved music and the way it made him feel, and wanted to make music that made other people feel that way. And as luck would have it, it worked out for him. For me, picking up the guitar has led me to learning about music, which is an ongoing journey that has changed how I see the world. I owe that to Eddie Van Halen. I wish he were still here with us. This is the 5th time his birthday has come around that he hasn't been here to celebrate, but I know that I and other people who love his music are certainly thinking of him today.